Hey Omar. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good to have you here. Our first Twitch NGINX session ever. So you're part of our very first Twitch session, which is awesome. Yeah, give a couple of more minutes to other folks to be able to join. Yeah, even if you haven't done yet, so go ahead and connect to the chat. So that's our way of communicating. And as already announced, this is a very, very flexible session. So I have something prepared for us for the next around 60 minutes, but feel free to jump in, ask questions. And so the main thing is to have a good time, hang around, hack a little bit around with Unit. Yeah, and this is more important than have a defined roadmap. So feel free to ask questions. It would be cool to have some messages in the chat from where you're joining. That would be cool. Good to know. And yeah, as this is the first time we're doing this, especially with Twitch, um, let me know if the sound is okay, if the video is okay, and if there's anything else we can improve. Because this is the first one, as I said, but I'm planning definitely more sessions. So any feedback is welcome. Is there anything that we should set up to follow along with the coding? Yes. So let me go ahead and show you this. So this is basically a Debian 10 virtual machine. That's all I have for now. So what we're going to do today, so let's start here, is we're downloading, installing, and do a basic configuration walkthrough with NGINX unit. So you need a MacBook, macOS, Debian, Ubuntu, CentOS, quite everything that's, or anything that's listed in here in the operating system or packages will work. So Amazon Linux, AMI, CentOS, Debian, Fedora, Red Hat, Ubuntu, whatever you want to use. No preference from my side. I will go ahead and test Debian 10. Just install the VM. So maybe we need some additional packages, but it's brand new. Installed that yesterday. So everything I'm doing here is on a fresh VM. So it should work on your VM in the same way. So not really anything special. All right. So yeah, let's get started. So yeah, we will install NGINX unit on Debian 10 here together. So first of all, what we need is to have a little bit of a look around here. CentOS, Debian. All right, so let me make this a little bit bigger for you. Download signing key. All right, that makes sense. The package cannot be authenticated. Warnings due to installation. Good to know. All right, yeah, we want to download the signing key to be able to validate the signatures of our packages, just to make sure we are not installing any crap or stuff we are not want on our VM or server. So that means what we can do is we can just copy paste that thing here. Double click should do it. I thought our doc team implemented at some point, but I will show you that later, a copy to clipboard icon or function into this coding things here. So that means you can click here, copy to clipboard. Let me see. Maybe it's not a thing here on my default Debian Firefox. This could be. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. I use Terminator here as a terminal emulator, but feel free to go ahead and use anything else you want. iTerm, regular terminal, connecting from Windows with PuTTY to your Linux box. Feel free, whatever you want to do. All right, so let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so now let's follow the instructions we have here in our docs. First, we should add the signing key. So this is curl. I have installed the curl package yesterday. So make sure curl is a thing. If you do this, all right, so we need sudo. So sudo bash here in that case will change my role to root. If sudo bash is not working for you, try. So to make this work, to be able to do something like sudo bash, my user has to be in the so-called sudoers file. It is located in etc sudoers on most of the systems. If this is not working for you, try something like sudo su and then the password of the root user. So this is important as we need root privileges to add a signing key. So what we're doing here, we are saying curl the signing key and pipe the result here into our app key add command. So that's what we are doing. So be careful when you do something like this, or if you see something like this in forums or installation instructions, whatever, curl something from a remote resource from another web server and piping it into something like app key or binsh or something is possible. So that means you're taking whatever comes back as a response from this curl and use this as an input for the second command. So just be careful with such things. If you're not trust the source before the pipe, never ever do this. And if you're not sure, just do the curl without the pipe and the app key or whatever comes next to validate the output of this response. So that means doing curl -sl and then NGINX or keys, whatever, will just print out the key so you can validate what's the input for the next command. All right, so that was first. So next is we need to configure our unit repositories in etc app sources list d unit list. Okay, cool. So all right, one thing I've spotted here, if you use Debian 10 or 9, make sure you're using the right thing, as stretch is for Debian 9 and 10 will be Buster. It's the same with Ubuntu, for example. So make sure you're using the right version, otherwise you will have trouble using the right repository. So now you can use a text editor of your choice, Nano, VI, Vim, whatever. I saw a very fancy one at one of my colleagues' MacBook, but I can't remember what it was. No, can't remember. So it was etc app sources list.d, and then we can create a new one called unit.list. Awesome. So type I for insert. Copy pasta errors. Try again. There you go. All right. Same thing, same advice from me to all of you. Never ever copy something from anywhere on the internet and pasting it into your machine without validating what you're doing. I'm working as a Linux sysadmin since almost 8 years, 10 years. And yes, so this is a good advice to all out there. Validate what you're copying into such things. All right, right quit will do it. So that means we have updated our repository list. Update will load the new repository. Then we can install unit and the different modules. Cool. Sounds great. Cool. So let's give it a try. So let's type apt update. Let's see. There you go. Cool. So I've downloaded and installed VS Code yesterday, and it added a couple of Microsoft repositories. Looks like cool. So that's why I have Microsoft here in my package list. Funny enough, on a Linux system. And cool. Yeah, this is our new NGINX unit repository. We fetched the package information. All good. So we're clearing this, and now what we do apt install. You can do -y to bypass this annoying would you like to install this or that prompt. I will not do this right now because I want to show you the output of this. Oh, looks like there was not even a it wasn't even a question as I really want to do this. Okay, we're comfortable enough to just install without asking for permission. That's good. Not sure why that is a thing. If anybody knows that, paste it in the chat. But interesting. But anyway, so what happened here? We got our package, our unit 122 latest release Buster AMD 64.debian package from our repository we have just configured. Then we are unpacking it. We are creating a symlink that is generally the service. Right, so for one short word about this, as I really want that you or anybody understand what we're doing here. We have a binary, the unit D, and the unit D is something we can start from the command line by just typing unit D, for example. This will work. But to make it work on system startup, for example, so after reboot, that means unit will start after the system was booted. It creates a service using the systemd and system control mechanisms of Debian and Ubuntu or CentOS systems. This is something that works for 99% of all users. If you do not want to do this, I mean, if I had some users and other admins in my career, they really do not want it to have systemd, system control, stuff like that on the system. They manage that by scripts themselves. That is a different story, but then we are moving far away from a default setup, which is possible. I mean, this is definitely a thing that is possible, but not for our today's session. So let me know if there are interests on your side. Then we can change this. We can make a session about how to install unit on a Linux system without using package managers, systemd at all. So doing everything manually. Cool. So that means we have our service, and we can use something like service for older versions. It will still work with Debian 10 and 9. The newer stuff is system control. And system control changed the ordering of the commands you're using after system control. It is what you want to do, like status, and then the name of the service. Conn type. As I remember, service was the other way around. It was service, unit, status. So you can use both. The service will kind of redirect it to system control, I believe. All right, so we have unit up and running, which is good. So, but it is not really helpful right now as there is not a single module. But let's check what we have. So the service is telling us unit is running. That's great. Control socket's path name per default is var run control unit sock. Log file is var log unit log. And the non-privileged process accounts on unit. Cool. Right, let's validate this. This is a thing. So let's check the process list. What do we have here? We have the main process, version 1.22. We have the controller. We have the router running under unit. This is the privileged process under root. But that looks good for now. Cool. All right, so now check the socket. Oh, that's the PID. What's it in here? Var run. Is unit a thing in here? There you go. All right. Yeah, it's like mentioned in the docs. It's control unit sock and unit PID. So the PID is the process ID of the currently running process. So that one should match. So let's cat the unit PID. Oops. Yes, var run unit 10, 15, 1. Yep, that's correct. Right, so yeah, the PID is like a state file for the current master process. So those should match. So that's 151 at the end, and the PID is showing 151 at the end. That's great. So this is what we have basically from startup. So we have the control socket, we have the PID, we have the service. Now we can enable the service so that it will work after system reboot. To do this, you can type in system control enable unit.service. So that means unit will start up or start after the system booted. Cool. So that means we have unit installed. So let's see what we have in the current configuration. So curl -- Unix socket to use it, var run control unit sock localhost. All right. So that means we have an initial configuration with empty certificates, a config object with listeners and applications, and no upstreams, no routes. But this isn't a problem for now. But could be. So we'll fix that later. Cool. Yeah, so that works. So we have unit installed. We have it up and running. We can curl it, and so that is working. Cool. So the next thing, but we do not have any modules right now installed. So this is the next step here. We can install. So dev is for Node.js, I believe. Oh, that's a neat feature. See this? So that means you can hover. Oh, this is neat. Cool, see this? So unit dev has a little dashed line, or is underlined with a little dashed line. And if you hover over this one, it gives you additional information. Oh, that's cool. Required to install Node.js module and build Go apps. Okay, one sentence about this. We're going to install unit PHP, for example, just in a second. And so that means we have a module for unit PHP. So what does it mean? What does it mean we have a module? That means that we implemented, or unit implements, the so-called server API that talks to the PHP core if you want. So this is, to make it easy, the same approach the PHP FPM, the fast process manager, do. It's the exact same thing. The FPM talks to the core of PHP, and then you use something like NGINX, for example, as a proxy to send all the PHP traffic to the FPM port or socket, and then the FPM is taking care of the process management and sends everything to the PHP core to be interpreted as PHP code. And that's exactly what we're doing with unit. So you can think about the unit PHP module as something like the PHP FPM. So, and for Go and for Node.js, it is a little bit different, as we are building binaries, or we are building our modules, or our communication layer with the Node.js and the Go binary differently than PHP, for example, or Python, Ruby. So that's why for unit and Node.js, it is a complete different story. And I definitely will do a video about unit with Node.js and Go separately, because it's a completely different they are completely different from what we're doing today with PHP. Good. So let's go ahead and use it. Let's install the unit PHP module first. Install. Right, so what you see, what we're doing here is we're using libphp embed. We are installing common PHP 7.3 CLI and our JSON, OPC, readline, PHP modules. And you will see, or you'll notice, that we definitely need to install a couple of more of those things. So remember this PHP 7.3-JSON, because we will definitely need to install more of those to make something like Cake PHP working. But this is not a unit problem at all. This is more like making the system prepared for something like Cake PHP. So that means, as you can see, we still need the PHP binaries and the runtime on our system. So it's not running in unit. As I said, unit is replacing, in that case, the PHP FPM, but it's not replacing binaries, PHP binaries on the system at all. So this is important, because that was one of my first things I thought, that we can have something like PHP encapsulated in a unit module. I know, strange thinking, but that's what I thought 2.5 years ago. But it's not a thing. So we need the PHP binaries on the system. Okay, so I'll go ahead and install libphp. So we have etc PHP 7.3 mods available. Sounds good. Cool, we have far, which is neat because we want to install Cake PHP with Composer. So let's give this a second. All right, perfect. So that's done. Okay, so we have PHP installed to make sure PHP-v for version PHP 7.3.27. This is like the default version that comes with Debian 10. So if you install Debian 10 and you install apt install PHP, it will come with version 7.3. Unit will work with 8 as well. So this is not a problem. And to be very honest, I think the default version for Ubuntu 20.04 will be 8 at this point. I think I thought that, but I'm not sure. Maybe I configured something extra. That's why. Right, but 7.3 is the version that comes with Debian. If you want to have unit with a separate version or different version, we have a couple of options. So let's talk about this for a second. On Debian, what we can do is we can install different packages, different package versions of PHP, and then build our unit module against the specific version. But I have made a I've worked great with a CentOS and a repository called Remi. I'm not sure if you're aware of that one. So this is a thing. So called EMI repository. Right, I'm not sure if you came across this one, but this is absolutely great, because what they are doing is they're building PHP packages for quite all versions of PHP that they are around at the moment, like 5.6. I'm not sure if they are still building 5.5. Let's check. But they definitely built 5.6 and 5.5 earlier. And then, where can I see? It doesn't really matter. So they're definitely building 8. So they're building PHP 8. 5.4 is still a thing. 7.4, 7.3, 7.2, 7.1, 7.0, 5.6, 5.5, 5.4. And I think that's it. Yes, so 5.5 is the latest version they're providing. And so this is great because they have a unit module. So or let's say this, they have unit modules built against this versions of PHP pre-packed in their repositories. So that means on CentOS, using the REMI repository is a great thing, because then you can install PHP 5.5, 5.6, 7.1, 7.4, 8.0 on the same system on a single unit instance. And yeah, configure different applications with the same unit instance, but using different versions of PHP. So that's great. Cool. All right. So we have PHP in place. We have unit in place. So let's do a little go further down. Check the configuration part. And quick start, listeners, routes, applications. So let's see what we have here with PHP. All right, we have install unit alongside with PHP. We need a root, index, options, target, script. Okay. All right, so let's talk about this one here. So type is PHP. Processes is like the process you have in the configuration FPM. We have a root, we have a user, a group. So it means we can create a run user. And a group for that. So let's do this and create our web root. So let's go in here. Let's see if www is a thing. Not it now. So mcard here, www. Okay. So let's call that app 1. So let's make it for unit right now. Cool. So let's do this with VIM. So let's create a very simple script that dumps our server and add a little pre around to print it a little bit nice. Let's see. All right, so we have our index.php file in a separate directory, var www.app1. Cool. So let's create another config.json. And let's copy this one over. I have a unit CLI for doing most of these steps. And yeah, this is something I can show you definitely in a second. Well, this is available on GitHub, so let's change this to our needs. Process is 20. I think this is a little bit too much for the beginning, so let's start with 4 and use here /var www@1. User and group is something we can get rid of for now, so that means we do not need it. And the options is something where we can use to fine-tune our PHP application, but I will get rid of all those right now because I want to really start simple. I want to start with a minimal setup, and then we can do more. So let's see. So in the documentation here, we have something like root is required. Options is optional. User group is optional as well. So that should work. Give it a try. All right, right, quit. So to configure unit like without the CLI I've written is with Unix socket var run control unit sock. Let's see. Oh, that's right. All right, so now we need, after that, we need a method. So it supports put and post. Put is like updating an actual object, and post will add whatever we send to, for example, applications at the end of it. Be careful with this, and I will show you in a second why. So let's say post for now, and say we want to send our JSON. And this was config.json to localhost / applications @1. And I think this is a thing with post. So let me do @1. Oh, I am dumb. Why is nobody telling me that? We missed the config, sorry. So localhost starts with config and certs or certificates. So it is localhost config applications. Okay. Yeah, so let's check the docs about post and put, because I've just recognized that put is a thing since 1.9. All right, so PHP is let's try. Okay. So first, after installing PHP module, we have to reload or restart NGINX unit because the modules will be loaded on startup. So this is one thing. And now I can get rid of the @1 because this is something we can definitely do inside of the curl command. So we say curl Unix socket, put is default data binary is config.json, localhost config applications @1. Yay! So that worked. Yeah, that's a problem because I've created a CLI to do most of that stuff automatically. So, but it's good learning for me as well to do this manually. All right. So reconfiguration done means we have now configured our PHP application. So let's do two things. First, let's have a look in the process view with PS to see what we have here. Cool. So we have the main process, we have the control and the router, same processes we had at startup, but now we have 4 new processes. app1 and they're running under unit. So this is the run user part here, the unit thing. So that means if we're not specifying anything in particular, it will use the run user of the unit application server, in that case unit. Cool. So now let's configure a listener and then let's see what we can do with our little tiny PHP application, and then let's try to install maybe Cake PHP today or in another session. Cool. All right. So as you know, we have now an application, but there's no listener. So let's check our config. So here, that's what I mean. It is config applications @1 and not localhost applications. That was my fault. All right. So now we need a listener. A listener is if you want an object of our network stack that binds and port to our application. And this is what we're going to do now. All right, so now let's create another JSON file. And this is why I want to show you the CLI, because then we have just one JSON for the whole configuration. So let's call that listener.json. And let's check the docs. So the name is, let me see if there's an example. There you go. All right, so this is the name of it and the connection information at the same time. So if you specify something like localhost 127.0.0.1 this port 8300 will only be reachable from localhost. If you do something like star or 0000, that means that your port 8400 will be reachable from any other IP address. So this is not only a name. It looks like it's just a name, but this is a name and the connect options if you want at the same time. And then we have a simple object pass. And what we're doing now is we will just use an application object. So that means we pass all the traffic directly into our application. And another thing is a route. This is something I can show you in a second. What is a route and how that works. But now we will do this. We will start easy with a basic listener and a pass. All right, so we start with an empty JSON and specify pass applications app1. I think we call it app1. It is at 1. There you go. All right. Okay. So Unix socket put is fine. This is listener.json. Localhost config. Let's get rid of this. And this is listeners. And let me do this from anywhere. Reconfiguration done. Awesome. Cool. So the process list does not change. We still have 4 processes for our PHP app, but let's have a look in our configuration. We have now a listener port 8080 that sends traffic to application app 1, which is great in theory. So let's see what our net statistics are telling us about this thing. All right, we have 0000, which is something like star, 8080, and the process is the unit router. So this is interesting. So let's do one more thing here, the PS work. It is the router process, and the application processes for 8, 9, 10, 11 are not shown in the netstat. So this is important. And this is something I want to tell you or show you here. The router process will always take care of your incoming traffic. It's like an ingress. And it doesn't matter if you specify inside of a listener a route or an application. The router process will always take care of your traffic and will send it to an application or to a route object. But this will not change this process output. I hope this is not too deep in detail, but I really want that we start with the basics and then can go on top of this with the next sessions. But that means you can explain that to anybody that's looking on your system and asking why we have port 8080 bound to unit router and not to the application process. That's why. Router is always taking care of your incoming traffic. All right, so let's see if this is a thing. Localhost port 8080, not 80 80 80 80. There you go. Oh, that looks good. So let's do this in our Firefox. Localhost, not host J, localhost port 8080. Can't type, chat. Localhost. There you go. Cool. All right. So what do we have here? Server software is unit 1.22. We have var www.app1 index php, localhost, port 8080. This looks like a thing. Awesome. So now let's see what we can do with unit. So one thing that is quite almost the first thing that appears in your security audits is, I hope this is big enough and you can see that, is this little severity info CVS thing that the server name is exposed to the public. Shame on you. Why is this? Yes. So yeah, this happened to me at least, I don't know, 100 times in my life that somebody told me, why is the server exposed to the public? In fact, this tells something about the application, or at least the app server, and can lead to find some known vulnerabilities. So it is definitely a recommended thing to turn that off. All right. So, and another thing is we should have, oh, this is the change with PHP. So normally there is a X powered by PHP 7.3 thing. and this is not here, which is good, but let's change this behavior and make this visible just to see what we can do with unit. As we have our app up and running, we can start working with it. So let me do this. Control E. All right, so this is something I want to show you. So let's work with our config on the left and have something here on the right so we can see some effects. Okay, so we have type PHP processes 4. So let's see if we use something like watch PS. Oh, let's do this. Watch PS LF pipe grab unit. All right, so this will now like reload our statistics every 2 seconds. So we have app1 4 processes with those process IDs. Great. So let's change this number of processes to, let's say 8. Well, let's make 10. So what we do is we curl our Unix control API with our config.json here. Boom. So as you see, it added or created new processes. And this will happen without even having a need of rebooting your application at all. So this will do this during runtime. So people can visit your application, then you can go ahead and change some stuff on runtime without any shutdown or outages of your service. All right, so we have the root, and now let's specify some options. So let's do this. So in options, take 2 different other objects in the PHP application. One is admin, and the other one is user. So admin is global applications space, and the user you see, in user is more in the user space. So that means you can override some, with the admin, you can override some options. So what we want to do is we want to say in the applications part in PHP, we want to now change some options in our so for example, to expose PHP. So we saw expose PHP is off, which is good, which is definitely recommended. But let's turn that on just to see, just to make sure this is working. So I'm just copy that. We can keep user empty if you want, or you can delete user entirely if not needed. So memory limit 256 meg. Variable order, I think you're aware of it. It's E for environment, global, post, cookie, server. So this is important as we can specify environment variables here easily with unit. So that means there's another configuration object called environment, and then we can specify environment variables. So let's do this. Environment, contype environment. Comma, yeah, let's say app underscore test var is hello Twitch. Contype hello Twitch. So we have environment We use this. We have exposed PHP. You change that to 1. Save that. And we curl the config endpoint again. Reconfiguration done. So as you saw here, so look, this hasn't been changed. So it's like, it's not affecting your application at all from a traffic perspective. So the users will still be able to reach out to your app while you're reconfiguring it. All right, so now let's reload here. And there is the X powered by PHP thing. 7.327 Debian 10 U1. Great, so let's see, where is our environment variable app? Is this a thing? Oh, that doesn't come in server, I believe. Yes, so this comes in env. So let's change the index file. So we have var dump, another one. Okay. Hello Twitch, there you go. Cool. So this is pretty neat, because what we can do now, so let's think about a secret or a salt or something you need for your application to hash passwords, for example, and you want to change a salt for a given reason. And what you can do then is you can change the configuration file. And can say hello Twitch new or something else. But let me show you how you can edit this with the unit API without sending a specific, without sending the whole configuration. So let's say from something like Jenkins or any other CI/CD pipeline to reconfigure unit. Because this is sometimes really, really important to be able to do this. And this is one of the coolest features, to be very honest, that exist with unit. So we can get rid of the data binary here, make it simpler, and say once just send data. And let's say new secret. Cool. So then we have localhost config applications, and as it is a JSON, we can say app1 is the application context, and then we have an environment, and then we have, I think, let me copy that. Let me send this should error. Yeah, great. Because now I can curl the get command in one more time. Config. Put. No. I want my. Where's my unit config? I want my unit config just to be sure. Type config. All right, so we have applications, then we can use app1, environment, app test var, and then set the value. So that's what I want. So environment, app underscore test var will be new secret. Oops. Oh yeah, this is the JSON. You have single quotes surrounding the double quotes. See this? So if you want to send data within curl, with a post or put, and this is a JSON, the double quotes, they has to be part of the payload. So make sure you're surrounding them with single quotes. Cool. So reconfiguration done means we should see now a new variable, or at least a new name for it. So let's see. New secret. Great. So now let's check our application. And this shows new secret. Great. Cool. Yeah, so this is very neat if you want to reconfigure stuff on the fly in your application featured. So I have built a couple of PHP applications based on unit with this exact feature. For example, a feature toggle. And I can really activate any feature from with this environment. So I have something in PHP that requires an environment variable set to a specific value, and then you can toggle it on and off from wherever you want. Just make sure you can reach out to the unit API, and that's basically it. All right, so let's change this exposed PHP back to 1 or to 0, sorry. And be careful, as you see, this is a string as well. So this double single quote thing is needed for this as well. And this works in the same way. So app1, then we have options, admin, expose underscore PHP. And then we need a new value, which is number 0. Reconfiguration done. So I mean, we can do this with curl as well. So let's curl localhost port 8080. And we have unit 122, but the X powered by header is gone. So you can see a lot of, with this admin and user configuration settings in unit, as well as with the environment, a lot of stuff you would normally do with FPM configuration files like www.conf or other PHP ini files are possible with the unit API. So there is no need of doing this with by changing the www.conf file or by editing some PHP ini. You can just send that stuff with the unit or directly to the unit application server, and the unit application server will take care of the rest. And this is one of the best benefits, you can configure the whole network stack. So everything on layer 4, listeners and routes with unit with the same API. So there's no need of doing anything very special with NGINX open source and stuff. And as we are a little bit over time now, I hope that you saw how to install unit, how easy it is. Just with 4 commands, you can install unit for PHP on your system. And I will just remind myself how complicated it was to install FPM, for example. You have to install FPM. You have to configure FPM. Use NGINX open source. Configure NGINX open source to talk with the FPM. With unit, it's simply install unit PHP the module, and then you're good to go. All the rest is just configuration files for NGINX unit. I know this application is a little bit useless, to be honest, printing server variables, but I would like to invite you to the next session on Sunday. And if you want, jump on. And on Sunday, I will follow up here, and we will create on top of the setup we have right now with PHP Composer and Cake PHP application version 4 connected to a MySQL database. Then we will play a little bit around with NGINX unit route objects, environment variables to specify the connection data for the MySQL database, and share local files for JavaScript and HTML to make a real app working with NGINX unit without the need of anything else. So that's the schedule for Sunday. I will follow up with a tweet about when exactly it will happen, but you can schedule around Sunday 7 p.m. Central Europe time, as I'm based in Germany right now. But I will follow up with a little tweet, and then we can follow up on this one here, and can build a real PHP application using Cake PHP on top of Unit. So that's what comes next. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it and learned a lot about how to set up NGINX Unit from the beginning. I know this was really basic stuff. We covered a lot of the basics, but I think it is helpful to understand the concept and the basics before we follow up and start working with complex or more complex applications, because everything or anytime we have an error or we will have some problems, we can remind ourselves back that how Unit works in general and what's the concept, and that is really helpful. Great. So if you have any questions, feel free to paste it in the chat. If not, I say thank you for your interest and time, and let us know if you think we should do something better or something different. As I said, this is the first time we're doing this. Let us know. Give us your feedback, because I'm doing this for you, and I want to share content and bring value to the stuff you're interested in. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see you on Sunday on our follow-up session to make a real PHP application and not just a sample app like this one. Perfect. Yeah, so I wish you one, and have a great day. Enjoy, take care, and looking forward to see you on Sunday. Goodbye.